You think you're just worrying. You think the endless loops of thought, the constant replays of past conversations, and the obsessive planning for a future that never seems to arrive are just quirks of your personality. Maybe you call it anxiety or stress, or you tell yourself you're just a deep thinker. But what if you're wrong about all of it? What if this relentless mental noise isn't a flaw, but a function? What if your mind isn't just spinning in circles? What if it's actively running from something? This isn't just about feeling overwhelmed, no. This is a deliberate psychological game, a sophisticated mind trap. It's set by the most intimate and unknown part of yourself, the constant chatter in your head. It's a brilliant, exhausting smokescreen. It's designed to protect a secret your psyche will do almost anything to keep buried. We're not here to give you 5 easy tips to stop overthinking. We're going to do something much more radical. Guided by the incredible wisdom of Carl Jung, we're going down, deep down, into the very architecture of this mental prison. We'll explore the dark psychology of overthinking to uncover the truth your unconscious shadow is so desperate to protect. This is a journey into the engine room of your anxiety. And what you find there, it might not just quiet your mind. It could change the very foundation of who you think you are. First, let's just acknowledge the feeling. Overthinking is profoundly real and completely draining. It's rehearsing a conversation a dozen times after it's over, searching for every tiny misstep. It's that paralysis that grips you when you have to make a decision. Your mind generating 1,000 possible outcomes, each more catastrophic than the last. It feels like you're drowning in your own thoughts, and the more you struggle, the faster you sink. Most modern advice treats this like a bad habit, a cognitive error you can fix with mindfulness or logic. People will often tell you, just stop thinking about it, as if it's that easy. But that advice fails because it completely misunderstands the problem. From a Jungian perspective, overthinking isn't the real issue. It's a symptom, a distress signal from the depths. Carl Jung would argue that trying to silence the thoughts without understanding where they come from is like trying to fix a rattling car engine by turning up the radio. The noise might fade for a moment, but the engine is still about to blow. To get this, we have to look at Jung's map of the human mind. He didn't see it as one unified thing, but as a vast territory with different regions. Picture your psyche as a great ocean. On the surface, you have the waves, the choppy, ever-changing thoughts and feelings of your daily life. This is your conscious mind, your ego. It's the part of you that you identify with. Your name, your job, your rational mind, reading these words right now. The ego is the captain of the ship, trying to keep everything orderly and under control. But beneath that surface, there lies the immense, silent deep. This is the unconscious. Jung saw 2 layers here. Just below the surface, there's the personal unconscious. This holds all your forgotten memories, and, importantly, it holds the experiences and feelings you've actively shoved down or repressed. Why? Because they were just too painful or shameful for your ego to deal with. And deeper still lies the collective unconscious. Think of it as the ancient seabed of this ocean. It's where you'll find the archetypes. These are universal patterns and symbols that are, well, the shared inheritance of all humanity. This is the realm of myth, of soul, and of instinct. The mind trap of overthinking? It's built right on the border between the conscious ego and the mysterious unconscious. The captain of the ship, that's the ego, is absolutely terrified of what might rise from the depths. It spent a lifetime building a very specific identity, a carefully constructed version of who it thinks it should be. When the dark currents of the unconscious start to stir, threatening to reveal what's really down there, the ego, well, it just panics. And its primary defense isn't to strengthen the ship, no, it's to create a storm on the surface. That storm? That's overthinking. Think about it. The violent churning of the waves, the endless spray of anxious thoughts, the deafening roar of what-ifs, it all serves one critical purpose: to make it impossible to see or hear what's actually emerging from below. The anxiety you feel, the mental exhaustion you experience, that's the friction burn. It's caused by your own mind generating this storm to distract itself from a far greater fear, the fear of seeing its own hidden truth. This isn't a flaw in your thinking, by the way. No, it's actually a feature of your psychological defense system, working exactly as it was designed to. The ego is the architect of this prison, but it isn't a malicious warden. It's a terrified protector, acting out of a deep need for safety and acceptance. To understand why, we need to bring in another key Jungian idea: the persona. The persona is the social mask you wear. It's the polished version of yourself you show to your colleagues, your friends, and even yourself in the mirror. It's the Trek's good employee, the PI, caring friend, the PI, strong one. This mask is shaped by society, your upbringing, and your desire to be loved and respected. A persona isn't bad. It's a necessary tool for navigating the social world. The problem, as Jung saw it, starts when we forget we're wearing a mask. The ego starts to believe that the persona is the entirety of who we are. This creates a dangerous split. On one side, you have the idealized, acceptable persona. On the other, you have everything else, all the messy, chaotic, vulnerable, and authentic parts of yourself that don't fit the mask. Everything else, it gets kicked down into the unconscious, forming what Jung called the shadow. See, the ego, desperate to protect the persona, it becomes a ruthless bouncer at the door of your consciousness, denying entry to any thought or feeling that contradicts that approved self-image. And here's the grand deception. When something happens in your life that triggers one of these disowned parts, the ego, while it sees it as a mortal threat. Let's say you pride yourself on being competent and in control. That's your persona, right? Then you get some critical feedback at work. On the surface, you might just nod and accept it, sure. But deep down, that criticism, it poked a raw, hidden wound, a deep-seated fear of being inadequate, a part of your shadow you've long repressed. The ego can't allow that feeling of inadequacy to surface. Feeling it? Well, that would mean admitting the persona's a fraud. So what does it do? It triggers the mind trap. Instead of letting you feel that simple, sharp pain of, I feel inadequate right now, it launches an incredibly complex and exhausting overthinking loop. You'll start replaying the feedback. What did they really mean? Did I sound defensive? I should have said something else. My boss must think I'm an idiot. I'm going to lose my job. The mental storm is agonizing. But from the ego's perspective, it's a huge success. It has successfully diverted all your mental energy into thinking about the problem instead of feeling the problem. This is the illusion of control at the heart of overthinking. It feels like you're doing something productive, like you're trying to solve it, but you're not. You're on a hamster wheel, spinning furiously, generating enough noise and motion to avoid having to step off and just stand still. Because standing still would mean feeling the vulnerability or the shame that your persona has forbidden. Overthinking is the ego's filibuster, talking endlessly to avoid a terrifying vote on your own self-worth. It's a frantic museum curator, polishing the glass on the display cases to distract everyone from that rattling sound coming from the locked basement door. That rattling, that's your true self, demanding to be heard, So now we have to find the courage to turn the key, to open that basement door, and face what the ego has been working so hard to contain. We have to meet the shadow. The shadow is probably Jung's most famous and most misunderstood idea. We hear the word and imagine something evil, a monster lurking inside us. But the shadow isn't inherently evil. It's simply what's unknown and unowned. The shadow is, well, it's the bag we carry that holds all the parts of ourselves we've disowned or denied. This process starts when we're kids. We learn very quickly which parts of us get approval and which get punished or ignored. If our anger was met with fear, we learned anger is bad and pushed it into the shadow. If our vulnerability was met with ridicule, we learned being sensitive is weak and exiled it. If our creativity was too much for our parents, we learned to lock it away. But these exiled parts don't just vanish. They go underground, into the personal unconscious, where they live on, full of the energy they were denied. And here's the vital, life-altering truth. Your shadow doesn't just hold your negative traits, like rage or jealousy. It also contains a goldmine of positive qualities that your persona found threatening for some reason. Your repressed shadow might hold your assertiveness, your wild creativity, your disruptive genius, or your deep capacity for intimacy. So that secret, the mind trap, is built to protect, well, it's ultimately the secret of your own wholeness. The ego's terrified of the shadow because integrating it means shattering that perfect image of the persona. It fears that if it lets the anger out, it'll become a monster. And if it lets the vulnerability out, it'll be destroyed. The ego fears chaos, but what the shadow really holds is the raw, unrefined energy of life itself. So, how does this hidden shadow hijack your thoughts? Think of it like this. Let's go back to the work criticism example. The feedback doesn't just trigger a thought. It sends a vibration down into the unconscious that resonates with a dormant part of the shadow. In this case, the exiled feeling of, I am inadequate. This shadow energy starts to rise, looking for expression. The ego, standing guard, senses this forbidden presence and slams the gates of consciousness shut. But energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. So the ego performs a desperate trick. It takes the raw, hot, emotional energy of the shadow's shame and converts it into the frantic, intellectual energy of overthinking. The fire of emotion is turned into the fog of obsessive thought. You think you're analyzing a work problem, but you are actually metabolizing a deep emotional wound in the only way your ego knows how, by thinking it to death. The endless loop of "what if I get fired" is a much more manageable experience for the ego than the single devastating feeling of "I am fundamentally worthless." The chronic, low-grade suffering of anxiety is preferable to the acute, terrifying pain of confronting the original wound. This is exactly what Jung meant when he said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. You're overthinking. That's the neurosis. And the legitimate suffering is that core feeling your ego has deemed too dangerous to experience. You've chosen the complex prison of your mind over the simple, painful truth of your heart. Or think about it in other areas. Take the person endlessly obsessing over a breakup. For example, replaying every single moment. They aren't just heartbroken. No, they're using those mental gymnastics to avoid the legitimate suffering of their shadow's terror, of abandonment. The person paralyzed by indecision isn't just being meticulous. You see, their ego is creating paralysis to avoid a deeper shadow conflict. Maybe it's a terrifying ambition they were taught was arrogant, or a deep fear of failure that would shatter their capable persona. The overthinking keeps them safe in the purgatory of inaction. In every case, the pattern is the same. Your mind isn't the source of the problem. It's the scene of the crime. Your chronic overthinking is what Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." If this exploration of your inner world is resonating, and you feel a sense of recognition in this mind trap, take a moment to subscribe and join our community. We're committed to having these deeper conversations about psychology and the soul. And by subscribing, you help us create more content that goes beyond the surface. If overthinking is a prison, how do you get out? The answer is profoundly counterintuitive. The way out isn't to break down the walls. The way out is to turn around and sit with the prisoner, the shadow. The solution isn't to stop thinking, it's to stop running. This requires a radical shift. The goal is no longer to silence the anxious thoughts, but to learn their language. Your overthinking isn't meaningless noise. It's a coded message, a trail of breadcrumbs left by your unconscious, pointing you right back to the original wound. This journey of turning inward to reclaim the lost parts of yourself is what Jung called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. It's not a quick fix. It is the most courageous work a person can do. It's the work of shadow integration. So how do you start? Not with more analysis, but with more awareness. Here are a few invitations inspired by Jungian principles. First, give the anxiety a voice. The next time you're caught in that vortex of overthinking, stop fighting it. Instead, get curious. Close your eyes and almost personify the feeling. Then, start a conversation with it, using a technique called active imagination. Ask it with genuine compassion, not judgment. What are you trying to protect me from? What are you afraid would happen if I stopped thinking about this? And what feeling are you trying to hold for me? You're not trying to defeat this part of yourself. You're trying to understand it. You're building a bridge to an exiled part of your own psyche. Second, return to your body. Overthinking traps all your energy in your head. When the spiral begins, intentionally guide your attention down into your body. Scan yourself from head to toe. Where is the feeling? Is it a tightness in your chest? A pit in your stomach? A tension in your shoulders? Don't try to fix the sensation. Just be with it. Breathe into it. The body holds the emotional truth that the mind is trying to spin a story about. By grounding yourself in sensation, you create a safe space for the real feeling to finally be felt. Third, track your projections. The easiest way to see your shadow isn't by looking inward. No, it's actually by noticing what you absolutely can't stand in other people. This, my friend, is projection. You see, those traits in others that really trigger a strong emotional reaction in you, things like intense irritation or anger, or even sometimes over-the-top admiration, well, those are often mirrors of your own disowned self. So if you ever find yourself enraged by someone's arrogance, take a moment and ask yourself, where is my own repressed ambition? Or, if you're disgusted by someone's weakness, then ask, what is the nature of my own denied vulnerability? Now, this isn't about excusing anyone else's behavior, no. It's about using your own strong reactions as a diagnostic tool, to bring pieces of your own soul back home. The reward for this work isn't just a quieter mind, it's a more authentic life. All that psychic energy you were using on repression, on fueling those loops of overthinking, it all gets liberated. It becomes available to you as vitality, creativity, and resilience. By integrating the shadow, you don't become perfect, you become whole. We started with the idea that your overthinking isn't what you think it is. We've seen that the frantic noise in your head isn't a flaw, but a sophisticated defense. A trap set by one part of you to protect you from another. The dark psychology of this trap is that it keeps you from the very source of your healing. It substitutes the chronic pain of anxiety for the sharp, transformative pain of emotional truth. It promises you control, but only delivers paralysis. But seeing the design of the trap is the first step toward disarming it. Your overthinking mind is not your enemy. It's a loyal, if misguided, servant. It's an alarm system, pointing you toward the treasure you buried inside yourself. The ultimate purpose of your anxiety is to call you home, back to the feelings you were taught to abandon, back to the parts of yourself you were told to hide. It's a call from your soul to stop running, to stop analyzing, and to finally, bravely turn inward. So the next time you feel that storm gathering, the next time you're caught in that loop, I invite you to ask a different question. Don't ask, "How do I make this stop?" Instead, ask with courage and compassion, "What truth are you trying to protect me from seeing?" The answer won't be found in your thoughts. It will be found in the silence that follows. And in that silence, you might just hear the first whispers of your true self. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. If this opened up a new perspective for you, please like the video and subscribe for more conversations that explore the depths of the human psyche. And now, I invite you to share one feeling that this exploration brought up for you in the comments. By sharing our experiences with this mind trap, we create a community of people who are no longer just thinking, but are on the path to becoming whole.